Two of the guys my wife had been fooling around with, big, mean-looking bruisers, hauled me into the back seat of a black SUV like I was weightless. One had a shaved head with tattoos snaking from his neck all the way down to his knuckles. The other had a face so rough and square, it looked like it was hacked out of concrete. I didn't even get the chance to tie my shoes. They snatched me right off the front porch while I was still juggling grocery bags. One of them tossed my phone into the ditch like it was a piece of trash, and then they tore off down the road like they had the devil on their tail, the smooth pavement giving way to rough gravel. The car finally screeched to a halt in the middle of some desolate field, nothing but open dirt and a sharp, cold wind. No houses, no lights, just me, the two thugs, and her. Vanessa. She stood there like she was posing for a magazine cover, heels digging into the dirt, tight leather skirt clinging to her like a second skin, lips painted a shade of red that barely looked real. In one hand, she dangled a fat envelope. In the other, that smug little grin she always wore when she thought she was being clever. "Hey, babe," she said, like this was some minor inconvenience in her day. "Glad you could make it. This won't take long." I couldn't find the words. Just stood there, staring first at her, then at the envelope. What's this supposed to be? I finally managed, my throat dry. She stepped closer, heels crunching the gravel like breaking bones. "It's a contract," she said coolly. "No divorce, no courtroom circus, no headlines. Just you agreeing to a new deal. I'll have as many lovers as I want, whenever and wherever I please. And you? You'll stay put. You'll stay my husband. Quiet. Loyal. Like a good little pet." The bald one let out a low chuckle. The other guy pulled a pin from his jacket. Vanessa lifted the envelope like she was offering me a birthday present. "Sign it," she said, "and everyone walks away without a scratch." I kept my mouth shut, jaw locked so tight it hurt. Vanessa cocked her head and smiled sweetly. "Don't be stubborn, Daniel. You knew, right? You're not that clueless. Yoga retreats? Late-night deadlines? Seriously? You thought all that was legit? God, you're adorable." She was eating this up. Every second of it. And the ugly truth? She wasn't wrong. Deep down, I had known. I'd seen the suspicious text she left wide open. Heard the loud music blaring during her so-called hour-long showers. I caught her smiling to herself when she thought I wasn't looking. But that smile wasn't ever meant for me. It was for whoever was keeping her entertained. Still, this wasn't what I'd pictured. I thought cheating meant lipstick on collars, hotel receipts. But Vanessa? She wanted more than betrayal. She wanted my signature. She wanted it official, something she could file away like paperwork. I rose to my feet. The bald guy tensed like he was ready to pounce, but Vanessa waved him off. "No need, babe," she purred. "Daniel's not the fighting kind." I stared at her, really looked. This was the same woman who used to cry into my chest after nightmares. The same one who crumbled in my arms at her father's funeral. She once said I made her feel safe, said I was her home. And now, here she was, treating our marriage like a piece of old furniture she was trying to sell. Something inside me gave way, not loud or explosive, just a quiet, final snap, like an old machine breaking down. I didn't shout, didn't lunge. I just smiled. "You're right," I said, as calm as Sunday morning. "Let's not make a scene." I reached out and took the pin. Vanessa beamed like she'd already won. I grabbed the envelope from her hand, and she looked practically victorious. I signed my name. And then I laughed. It started as a chuckle but grew into a full-on belly laugh that made all three of them freeze. Vanessa narrowed her eyes at me. "What's so funny?" I met her gaze, my smile cold and steady. "Come closer," I said. "This is where the fun really starts." She blinked, confused. "What?" I let the pin drop onto the dirt. "You wanted a show, Vanessa? Well, hang on. You're about to get a masterpiece." And just like that, the Real story kicked off. People like Vanessa think betrayal is the grand finale. They don't understand it's just the opening act. They believe tearing a man down in public, humiliating him, makes them invincible. But they forget the most dangerous thing. When a man hits bottom, when he's got nothing left to lose, when every last decent piece of him is ground into dust, that's when he gets truly dangerous. No, I didn't yell. I got quiet. I got focused. I went home that night with my pride battered and a fire lit in my brain. I replayed everything, her little smiles, her endless lies, the way her voice had slowly changed over the years. I finally saw it all, the affair, the rehearsed routine, the whole sick little drama she'd been starring in. Sleep never came. I didn't even want it. By the time the sky turned pale, I was already dressed and ready. This wasn't going to be loud, ugly revenge. This was going to be something else, something like art. Vanessa left early that morning. No goodbye. Just the sharp click of her heels down the stairs and the front door shutting with a cold finality, like a period at the end of a sentence I never agreed to write. I stood in the hallway, listening to the hollow silence she left behind. Same house, same walls, same floors, but now it felt fake. Like a stage set. And I was the last fool who still thought it was real. Then I saw it, her second phone sitting right there on the kitchen counter. That was her slip-up. She always called it her work phone, even though she barely lifted a finger for her so-called job. Claimed it was for clients. Just another lie I swallowed because I was too desperate to face the truth. It buzzed softly next to the fruit bowl, almost like it was whispering my name. I didn't think twice. Grabbed the phone and punched in the one code I knew she'd never change, her dead dog's birthday. Predictable as ever. The screen lit up. Just like that, I cracked the damn wide open. Dozens of messages flooded the display. Names disguised as innocent contacts: Sophie, dental office, Lucas HR. All the filth neatly tucked behind fake labels. One message read, "Your husband's face when we dragged him priceless. He actually wanted to stay." And her reply? "He's like wallpaper. Easy to ignore. Let him rot." That's what I read, clear as day. My hand shook as I scrolled deeper. Pictures. Videos. I saw the thumbnails but didn't bother opening them. The captions were enough. One said, "He cried last night. Told me he still believes in us." Rolling on the floor laughing. Another one, "Don't worry, I'll have him sign anything. He's pathetic." But here's the thing, I didn't feel pathetic anymore. There was a time she could tear me apart with just a glance. Aside from her could wipe out whatever scraps of confidence I had left. She made me feel small, like I ought to thank her for letting me stand beside her. Not now. Reading her raw, ugly thoughts, the real Vanessa, dripping with spite and arrogance, lit a different fire inside me. Something shifted back into place. This wasn't just infidelity. This wasn't even betrayal. It was war. She didn't want another man. She wanted me destroyed. Erased. So I got to work. I backed up every last bit. Photos, texts, contact names, dates. Sent copies to the cloud. Stashed them in hidden folders, encrypted backups, flash drives tucked away. I wasn't just gathering dirt. I was stacking up an arsenal. By the time she strolled through the door that night, I had every detail memorized. Every timeline. Every alias. Every hotel. She came in like she hadn't just set fire to our marriage 24 hours earlier, humming some pop tune and kicking off her heels. "You look tense," she said, casual as ever. "Hope you've had time to think about my offer." I gave her a slow smile. Calm. Steady. "Yeah," I said. "I've been thinking." She grinned. "Good. We're adults. We can handle this like civilized people." I kept my mouth shut and watched as she tossed her purse onto the couch and headed to the bathroom for a shower. Left the purse wide open. Another rookie mistake. I spotted the burner phone tucked inside, the one she thought I was too stupid to find. She still believed I was blind. Still thought I hadn't started unraveling her web. But I had. I wasn't planning to cry, beg, or explode. That's what she wanted. That's what they all wanted. No, I had a different plan. I was going to take her apart the same way she tried to dismantle me quietly. Precisely. Without mercy. She didn't realize it yet, but every fake kiss she gave me, every plastic smile, I was tallying them. Like ticks on a cell wall. Like counting down to an execution. This wasn't a marriage anymore. It was a hunt. 3 days crawled by. I played my part like a seasoned actor. The boring husband. The background noise. Vanessa lapped it up. She patted my shoulder, called me honey, and slipped away for hours without a trace. But I watched her. Closely. I tracked every glance, every secret text she fired off behind the curtain of her hair. Patterns started to show. She had 2 main go-to guys, Shane and Derek. Big, cocky types with thick wallets and enough muscle to start a bar brawl. Then came Friday, the night her mask finally cracked. Vanessa suggested we have dinner. Said she wanted one of our old nights, flashing a sly wink that made my skin crawl. She wore red, of course she did. Red always meant games, her little power plays. I played along. Steaks sizzling on the grill. Candles flickering. Wine poured deep. I acted clueless, like I didn't know that an hour earlier she'd texted Derek, "Wish me luck. If he signs tonight, round 2 at your place." I was the luck. The warm-up act. She lifted her glass, toasting to growth, whatever that was supposed to mean. Kept sneaking peeks at her phone, waiting for the signal that I was officially replaced. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out that same damn envelope. The contract. The piece of paper that said I'd stay her husband while she lined up her lovers like holiday decorations. Let's skip the drama, she said, sugary sweet. This isn't about love anymore, Daniel. It's about freedom. Mine. You'll adjust. I stared across the table at her, the candlelight dancing in the space between us. And what exactly do I get out of this, Vanessa? I asked. She took a slow, deliberate sip of her wine. You get to stay. You're the comfort. The steady background noise. That's worth something. And right then, something inside me didn't snap with anger or sadness. It just gave out. A clean, silent break. Like a rope fraying apart deep underwater. I stood up, circled the table, and pressed a kiss to the top of her head. She giggled, thinking I was finally caving in. Thinking I was ready to accept my spot as her doormat. I leaned down and whispered, let's take a selfie. For old time's sake. She blinked. What? Before she could react, I snatched her phone right off the table. Come on, just one picture, I said. Humor me. Her face tightened. Daniel, put the phone down. But it was already too late. I flipped the screen toward me, thumbed the home button, whether by accident or on purpose, even I couldn't say. No lock screen. Just an open message thread staring back at me. Derek. He'd sent a photo, Vanessa in lingerie. Taken today. Time-stamped at 2:25 p.m. Underneath it, a message. That idiot husband still breathing? Vanessa lunged across the table, but I stepped back before she could get close. The smile slid right off my face. It's over, I said, low and even. Her eyes widened. It's not what it looks like. I held the phone up like evidence. Oh, really? Maybe this is your long-lost twin I'm seeing. She poured herself another glass of wine, calm as a cat sneaking scraps off a dinner table. Look, she said, all cool and collected. Calm down. I was gonna explain. Eventually. You're blowing this out of proportion. You're messaging a guy who helped assault me. I snapped. And you're joking about whether I'm still alive. She shrugged. Like I'd caught her fibbing about being late for work. Daniel, she said, slow and patronizing, I'm done pretending. You're weak. I need excitement. Those men, they give me that. You? Your groceries. I let out a short, bitter laugh. Just one. Hollow and sharp. You know what I finally understand? I asked. She lifted an eyebrow. What? You never loved me. You loved the control. For a second, her face cracked, just a flicker, before she pulled the mask back on. Fine, she said ice cold. Be a man. Leave. Or stay and rot. Doesn't matter. I'll keep living my life either way. I gave her a long, steady look. You're going to regret that. Vanessa raised her glass in a mock toast, a smirk curling her lips. Cheers to regret. She took a sip, smug as ever. What she didn't realize was it'd be the last time she drank that easily under my roof. That's the thing with people like Vanessa. They think they're invincible. They go through life treating everyone around them like furniture. Use it, move it around, toss it when they get bored. After that dinner, sleep wasn't even a thought. I ended up sitting out in the garage, the door cracked open to let the night air cut through me, just to feel something real. Cold gnawed through my shirt while I scrolled through her messages. Her filth, her bragging, her plans. She didn't even bother hiding it anymore. She enjoyed it, getting off on my humiliation. Then, buried in all that garbage, I found something different. A message from Emily, Vanessa's sister. Not one of the phony friends Vanessa loved parading around at parties. Emily was real. The only one who ever looked me in the eye and said I was the good one. Her message wasn't like the others. It was short. Careful. Vanessa, you're pushing it. Mom and Dad still don't know what you did with the house money, right? What if Daniel finds out? House money? I froze. Last year, we'd taken out a loan to redo the kitchen. Vanessa had insisted she handle the paperwork. Said she wanted to learn responsibility. I thought it was growth. I thought it meant she was changing. So I let her. Another mistake. That night, I started digging. Pulled out the old files from the safe in the closet, stuff I hadn't touched since we first got married. I flipped through them until the truth smacked me right in the gut. She'd refinanced the loan behind my back. Forged my signature. Funneled the extra money into an account I didn't even know existed. The kitchen renovations? They cost half of what she told me. The rest? Gone. Spent. Hidden. It all clicked. She wasn't scared of losing me, she was scared of getting exposed. Scared of what would come out if I walked away. By sunrise, I had everything: screenshots, copies, printed statements. A quiet storm ready to break. And then, I made the call. Emily answered on the second ring. Her voice came cautious. Daniel, I need the truth, I said. There was a pause. If this is about Vanessa. Did she steal money from our loan? I cut her off. Silence stretched on the line. Then a heavy sigh. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. She said you knew, Emily said, her voice low and tired. Told me it was your idea. Something about helping her prep for a salon investment. I leaned back on the couch, feeling like my whole body weighed 1,000 pounds. She lies to everyone, Daniel. It's not just you. How long has it been going on? Months, she said. And not just that. Some of the money went to a guy in Florida. I think his name's Derek. Of course it was. Thanks, I told her. I'll handle it from here. Just be careful, Emily said, her voice dropping even quieter. Vanessa's worse than you think. Always has been. I ended the call and sat there in the living room, surrounded by the furniture bought with stolen cash, memories stitched together with lies. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was colder, sharper, criminal. I didn't yell, didn't storm in and confront her. No, I was going to burn it all down the right way. Expose her to her lovers, her family, the whole shiny, sugar-coated world she'd built. I waited until Sunday, Vanessa's sacred tradition, dinner with her parents. The weekly ritual that kept her halo polished. Perfect daughter. Perfect wife. I wasn't invited. Didn't matter. I showed up anyway, right in the middle of their meal. Vanessa froze, fork halfway to her mouth when she saw me. Her father frowned, confused. Her mother gave me a polite, strained smile. Daniel, we didn't know you'd be joining us. Vanessa's voice was tight and sharp. We weren't expecting company. I walked over and placed a folder neatly in front of her. Brought dessert, I said. She glanced down and her face drained as she saw it. Bank statements, wire transfers, forged signatures, a paper trail even she couldn't spin. Her mother blinked hard. Vanessa, what is this? Her father's complexion went gray. Vanessa shot up from her chair. Daniel, not here. Don't do this here. Why not? I asked, calm as winter air. You always like putting on a show. She reached for the folder, but her father was faster. Snatched it up and flipped it open. What is this, Vanessa? He demanded. Lies, she said quickly. Too quickly. He's twisting everything. He's angry. No, I cut her off. This is the truth. The truth she's been hiding while she played the golden child. Her father's hand shook as he thumbed through the evidence. You forged his signature? Vanessa opened her mouth. Closed it. For once, she didn't have a lie ready. The ride home was dead silent. She didn't speak. Neither did I. Just the soft hum of the tires and the sound of her breathing, quick and shallow, like she was trying to figure out how to spin it. How to turn it into another sob story where she was the victim. She sat there with her arms crossed, staring out the window like a kid sulking after being caught stealing candy. When we pulled into the driveway, she didn't wait for the car to stop. Slammed the door and stormed up the steps, disappearing inside. I didn't rush after her. I wanted her to sit with it. Let the fear sink in. But I knew better than to think she'd crumble. People like Vanessa don't break, they scheme. Sure enough, when I stepped inside, she was already on the phone, tucked into the kitchen, her voice low and sharp. He just showed up with everything. I don't know how he got it. Just lay low, okay? He could come for you next. Then she spotted me. Froze mid-sentence. I just stood there, no words, no reaction. Just one raised eyebrow, go on. Lie to me again. She hung up fast. What? She barked. That Derek on the line? I asked. Or was it Shane this time? Hard to keep track. She curled her lip. I'm warning you, Daniel. You have no idea who you're messing with. I took a slow step toward her. No, Vanessa, I said, voice steady. You don't know who you're dealing with. But I do now. And I finally see you for what you are. She let out this sharp, bitter laugh. You think I'm scared of you? You're not a threat, Daniel. You're background noise. I didn't respond. Just walked past her into the living room. Waiting there on the coffee table was another folder, this one heavier. Packed. It was a loaded gun in paper form. Screenshots. Photos. GPS logs. A detailed breakdown of her affair with Derek, the gym rat turned wannabe tough guy. The same Derek who once bragged in a text about snapping the husband in half if I got in the way. I laid the folder down and sank into the chair like I had all the time in the world. You might want to look through that, I said, voice low and cool. She didn't budge. Vanessa, I continued, Derek's got a record, and he's still on parole. Right now? I've got a pile of evidence, your forged documents, the financial fraud, and your connection to a known felon. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You wouldn't. I would, I said. And I already have. The police? They always go after the muscle first. The blood drained from her face. She tried to talk, but no words came out. Her hands shook, not from guilt, no, from fear. Real fear. Fear of the house of cards she'd built crashing down around her. I leaned forward, locking my eyes on hers. You wanted me trapped, silent, while you paraded around with every musclehead who could lift a car. You humiliated me, treated me like I was just a paycheck with legs. I smiled, and it wasn't a nice one. But now I'm the one in control. Right on cue, a knock sounded at the door. Vanessa jumped like someone had fired a gun. I got up, walked over, and opened it. Standing there was a police officer, all business, no emotion. Mr. Daniel Foster? The officer asked. That's me, I said. We need to speak with you about a report involving fraudulent loan activity and an individual currently on parole. May we come inside? I glanced back at Vanessa. She stood frozen, fists clenched tight, her eyes wide like she was watching the walls close in. Of course, officer, I said, stepping aside. Come right in. Vanessa edged herself into the corner of the room like she could melt into the drywall. And maybe, for the first time, she realized there wasn't anywhere left to run. One of her boyfriends was already hiding, but the next? He wouldn't be so lucky. Vanessa always thought she was the smartest one in any room. Slick, charming when it suited her, fearless even when cornered. Like some fox thinking it could still outsmart the hounds with its leg caught in a steel trap. But here's the thing about smart people. They get arrogant. They miss the small stuff. And one good mistake is all it takes to blow up their whole game. The cops didn't cuff her that night. Not yet. They kept it clean, just questions. Simple ones. About forged signatures, suspicious withdrawals, and her cozy little connection to a convicted felon. I sat nearby, calm and collected, playing the role of the hurt husband like I was born for it. Vanessa tried, of course. She twisted the truth, painted herself as the victim. Claimed I'd manipulated her, controlled her, abused her, every tired trick in the book. What she didn't know was that I'd already filed for divorce the day before, and I didn't come unarmed. I had something she'd long forgotten, the prenup. See, way back when we still played pretend, before the vows turned to weapons, Vanessa insisted we sign a prenup. Said it was romantic, proof that it was love, not money. I agreed. Trusted her back then. But an old lawyer buddy of mine gave me a little advice. Tuck in a clause. Something easy to miss. Infidelity voids all marital claims. And more than that, it reverted everything back to me. The house, the savings, even the business she tried so hard to bleed dry. After the police left, I sat her down at the kitchen table. Vanessa, I said softly, like offering a handshake before a duel. Remember that prenup you were so proud of? She crossed her arms, all defiance. Yeah, what about it? I slid the document across the table to her. You probably should have read it closer. She snatched it up, flipping through the pages. Fast at first, then slower. Slower still, until she hit it. Her eyes froze. No, she breathed. You can't use this. You tricked me. No, I said, locking eyes with her. You tricked yourself. You ended this the day you dragged me to that field and tried to turn me into your obedient little pet. You just didn't bother reading the fine print. Her hands shook. She stood, breath coming in shallow gasps. You can't take it all. I decorated that house. I picked the damn countertops. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't have to. You bought it with stolen money. And your name? Never even made it onto the deed. She went quiet. Then she laughed. Not the fake, flirty laugh she used when she was conning someone. No, this one was hollow. Cracked and bitter. You really think you've won? She spat. Just because you dug up some sneaky little claws? I looked her dead in the face. It's over because you thought I'd stay stupid. She pointed a trembling finger at me. You'll always be pathetic, Daniel. Folders, files, papers. You think that makes you a man? Maybe not, I said, getting to my feet. But now, I get the bed to myself. And let me tell you, sleep's never been sweeter. She stormed upstairs, door slamming hard enough to shake the walls. A picture fell from the hallway and shattered on the floor. I didn't even blink. Let her rage. Let her scream. It was too late. This wasn't a breakup. It was the collapse of a scam. She built her little kingdom on lies, betrayal, and rehearsed cruelty. But she never once bothered to check the foundation. And now it was caving in right beneath her perfect little feet. After I showed her the prenup, she went silent. Days of it. No more poison whispers behind closed doors. No smug glances. She barely came out of the bedroom, just crept into the kitchen to reheat coffee before vanishing again, dragging her silence behind her like a heavy funeral shroud. But I wasn't stupid enough to think she'd surrendered. No, Vanessa didn't quit. She regrouped. And just when I started to believe maybe, just maybe, the worst had passed, that's when the storm hit. Hard. I was out in the garage, rummaging through old boxes, yearbooks, tax files, rusted tools, when I heard the front door. Not just close. Slam. The kind of slam that tells you someone didn't come to talk. I stepped inside. And there he was. Derek. He stood there, coiled rage wrapped in muscle, sweat dripping like he'd sprinted through fire to get here. His jaw was clenched so tight, the veins bulged up his neck like ropes. And right behind him, there she was, Vanessa, like some twisted queen watching her battered knight charge into battle on her command. You think you're clever, huh? Derek growled, stomping toward me. You called the cops. Got me looking over my shoulder every damn day. I didn't move. That old version of me, the one who'd cower, who'd flinch, that guy was gone. You assaulted me, I said, calm and flat. And now your parole officer knows. You belong in a cell, not in my living room. Derek cracked a crooked grin, but his eyes gave him away. Nervous, twitchy, backed into a corner. Vanessa said you wouldn't press charges, he said, lowering his voice like it might help. I didn't even look at him. My eyes locked straight on her. Vanessa lies. Always has. That hit. Her smirk faltered. She opened her mouth to fire back, but Derek shoved his way back into my space, jabbing a thick finger into my chest. You think paperwork makes you tough? He hissed. Think your little folders scare me? I glanced at his finger, then back up, steady, unbothered. No, I said. But you might want to know, I installed cameras last week. One in here. Another outside. They're rolling. He froze, just for a second. I tapped my pocket where my phone sat. One click, and your parole officer gets a nice little video of you breaking the restraining order I filed yesterday. It's official, signed, sealed, and in the system. Vanessa's eyes widened. You're bluffing. Am I? I said, voice cool and sharp. Go ahead. Find out. The air in the room turned heavy. You could feel the tension tightening like a noose. Derek's fists balled up, knuckles white, and Vanessa? She stood there like she was trying to do the math, who still had the power to save her. Slowly, Derek backed away. You're dead inside, man, he muttered. You think this makes you a winner? No, I said. What makes me strong is that I didn't turn into you. You're a wrecking ball with biceps. I'm just the guy who reminds you. Every wrecking ball runs out of swing. Derek shifted his glare to Vanessa. Jaw tight. Seething. This wasn't worth it, he spat. Vanessa reached for him. Desperation all over her face. Derek, don't. He slapped her hand away like she was nothing to him and stormed out, the front door rattling the walls when it slammed behind him. This time, it felt final. Vanessa didn't turn to look at me. She just stood there, arms hanging useless at her sides, all her sharp edges dulled. No more queen. No more mask. Just a woman left standing in the ruins she built. I walked into the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water. You picked a man who'd break the law for you, I said, voice even. But not one who'd stay when the game stopped being fun. She stayed frozen, barely breathing. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. He said he loved me. No, I said. He loved destroying things. You just handed him the bat. Her mouth opened, maybe to scream, maybe to beg, but I didn't wait to find out. I walked right past her. No goodbye, no parting shot. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I tasted something close to peace. Not the kind that sneaks up quiet. The kind you earn. The kind you fight for. The kind that rises from the wreckage and reminds you, you're still standing. The next morning, I found her at the kitchen table. Same table where we used to plan futures we'd never reach, where we laughed and fought and lied to each other. She sat hunched over a cup of coffee, black and untouched. No makeup, no jewelry, just a baggy hoodie swallowing her small frame, sleeves bunched up around wrists that once sparkled with gold. She looked real, small, hollow. A shadow of the woman who used to rule this house with a smile sharp enough to cut. It was the first time I'd ever seen her without the mask. And yeah, for a second, just a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. She didn't look up when I walked in. Just muttered, "So, what now?" I poured myself a cup of coffee, leaned back against the counter. "Now," I said. "Now the divorce finalizes next week. The house is mine. Business accounts are locked down. You'll get your formal move-out notice by Friday." Each word landed like a punch. I saw her flinch, but she didn't argue. Not this time. The fire, the arrogance, it was gone. I kept going. "You'll need to have your things packed by then. I've already had your mail redirected." Still no fight. No words. Just silence. But not the loaded, bitter silence we used to share, the kind filled with secrets and lies. This was different. This was the end. There was nothing left to lie about. No more lipstick-stained whispers. No more cover stories sprayed over with perfume. Just two people sitting in the wreckage, sipping coffee in a house built on betrayal. Finally, she broke the silence. "I didn't want it to end like this." I let out a laugh. Quiet. Dry. Tired. "You wanted a husband who worshipped you while you sat on a throne made of nothing. You had it, Vanessa. You just didn't think it could burn." That's when she looked up at me. Her eyes were red, not from tears, but from exhaustion. From watching every fake little empire she built collapse right in front of her. "You think you're better than me now?" she asked, voice brittle and worn. I didn't even blink. "No. I know I am. Because when I was hurt, I didn't hurt people back. When I was betrayed, I didn't betray anyone else. And when you had the chance to tell the truth, you picked your pride every damn time." Her mouth opened like she was ready to spit some last, bitter insult, but nothing came out. She had no fight left. Just the hollow look of someone who finally realized her kingdom was made of matchsticks. I pushed off the counter and headed toward the hallway. Halfway there, I stopped and glanced back. "You want some advice?" She didn't answer, but her eyes were glued to mine. If someone ever loves you enough to sacrifice for you again, don't turn that love into a lie. Because even the quietest man eventually learns how to burn a bridge, and do it smiling. That was the last thing I ever said to Vanessa. 2 days later, she was gone. No note. No goodbye. Just an empty closet and a half-finished bottle of perfume sitting there like a ghost too stubborn to admit it was already dead. After she left, I walked through every room, opened every window, let the air move, let the past drift out like the last smoke from a fire long extinguished. And for the first time in years, I breathed easy. People sometimes ask what I learned from all of it. The answer's simple. Never mistake silence for weakness. Never confuse love with permission. And above all, when someone shows you exactly who they are, believe them the first time. Don't wait. Leave. Because men like me, we don't stay broken. We rebuild. Stronger. Smarter. And a hell of a lot more dangerous than the ones who smiled while they tore us apart.